In the world of venomous snakes, silence is often a sign that something is about to happen. No sound, no warning. Yet the atmosphere always carries a tension that is hard to explain. In that world, biological advantages and survival instincts determine everything. And sometimes, the line between prey and one of their own kind is thinner than anyone could imagine. So what happens when venomous snakes are forced to confront their own kind? Let's find out. Python vs. Cobra. A young python is being bitten tightly on the neck by a cobra, its strength nearly exhausted. The final constricting coils are weak, no longer enough to hold the opponent. The cobra seizes that moment, pulling its entire body free from the coils and regaining a perfect position. The venom gradually takes effect, and all of the python's nervous system and muscles fall into paralysis. It begins to take control and swallow the prey whole. This is the outcome of a complete reversal of momentum in nature. Jiboya versus coral cobra. The jiboya has tightly coiled the coral cobra in a crushing hold, forcing the prey's body into a state of complete loss of control. The coral snake continues to twist, its mouth opening reflexively, but the constriction does not loosen. When movement nearly stops, the jiboya slides its mouth up to the head and begins swallowing. In boas, the two lower jaw branches can move independently, alternating grip and pull. Each jaw movement draws the coral snake deeper into the esophagus. A grim fate after accidentally encountering this massive reptile. The coral snake actively attacks a small python, lunging forward and biting to hold on, but its grip slips and it fails to secure the prey. That brief gap is enough for the python to react. It coils back, applying continuous pressure to the opponent's body. The coral snake narrowly escapes the coils before losing control. As soon as distance opens, it turns back and bites a second time. The python weakens, the coils collapse. The coral snake secures the head and begins swallowing. This outcome is decided by a single, perfectly timed reversal. Cobra versus lizard. The cobra and the lizard confront each other in a shallow puddle, both tensing in defensive reflexes. The cobra launches rapid strikes to maintain distance, while the lizard twists its body, thrashing powerfully and attempting to close in with its bite. Attacks come continuously, but neither side manages to inflict a clear injury. The lizard's thick skin and strong muscles help reduce damage from short bites. The cobra also keeps its head in a safe position, avoiding being locked by the jaws. This is a type of confrontation where effective defense prevents the battle from reaching a conclusion. Green snake versus gecko. The gecko suddenly bites down hard on the green snake's mouth, locking the jaws and refusing to let go. The snake thrashes violently, dragging the gecko across the ground, but the bite remains firm. In geckos, jaw force can be maintained for a very long time thanks to a locking jaw muscle structure driven by defensive reflexes. The struggle continues until the gecko voluntarily releases and looks for an escape route. But the distance does not open in time. The green snake immediately turns back to counterattack. This time, the snake secures the prey and begins swallowing. In nature, an effective defensive reflex does not guarantee absolute safety. King snake versus copperhead. The copperhead is locked tightly by the king snake. It twists constantly, searching for any gap to escape, but the controlling hold never loosens. Each time, the king snake attacks. The copperhead dodges with every remaining reflex, keeping its head moving to avoid the decisive bite. When the copperhead tires and slows, the successful bite lands. The confrontation ends according to the rule of endurance in nature. King snake versus rattlesnake. The king snake firmly holds the rattlesnake's head and begins swallowing when the prey can no longer resist.
Shaking his tail.
There is no struggle,
Nice.
only absolute control. The king snake's lower jaws alternately grip and pull, and each section of the rattlesnake's body gradually disappears. In king snakes, the esophagus is highly elastic, allowing them to swallow snakes with large diameters without interrupting breathing. This is the final stage of the confrontation, and a meal like this can keep it full for an entire week without hunting again. Sidewinder versus lizard. The sidewinder does not slither straight like most snakes. It moves sideways. This locomotion reduces heat absorption and prevents sinking into hot sand. And today its target is a lizard. When buried beneath the sand, the sidewinder remains in a ready-to-strike posture, turning seemingly empty ground into a deadly trap for any careless prey. When the lizard comes close enough, the distance vanishes in an instant. The sidewinder bursts from beneath the sand, strikes in a flash, and subdues the prey immediately. Centipede versus rattlesnake. The centipede suddenly closes in and bites directly into the rattlesnake's body. The rapid attack sends the snake's nervous system into chaotic reflexes, its head whipping violently as uncontrolled strikes are launched. The centipede's venom, with its ultra-fast paralytic mechanism and ability to disrupt nerve signals, causes the snake's repeated attacks to miss the target. Only after many failed strikes does the rattlesnake manage to bite the centipede. The centipede immediately escapes out of reach. Centipede versus red-tailed pit viper. The centipede and the red-tailed pit viper are confined together in a glass enclosure, and the encounter begins in tense silence. The snake tries to counterattack, but the centipede constantly changes angles, closes in, and delivers multiple short, precise bites. When enough venom has been delivered, the centipede deliberately releases its grip. It moves aside, watching the opponent slowly die in agony. The pit viper convulses, its body spasming uncontrollably before gradually becoming motionless. From the moment the centipede released, I knew it was certain of victory. Coral snake versus snake. The coral snake suddenly closes in on a smaller snake on open ground. It lunges forward and bites to secure the body, quickly taking control of the opponent. For a coral snake, neurotoxic venom does not need to act instantly in confrontations like this. As long as it holds firmly and swallows in the correct posture, the smaller prey has almost no chance to resist. In nature, size difference and prey handling skill are often enough to decide the outcome. Crocodile versus python. While crossing a narrow stretch of river, the python is suddenly attacked from below by a crocodile. With a bite force exceeding 3,500 psi, the first bite is enough to seal the prey's fate. Survival reflexes drive it to thrash violently, trying to climb onto the crocodile's body and grab onto a protruding log to escape. Without waiting long, the crocodile drags the python back underwater and finishes it. In this environment, a single small mistake leaves no retreat. Mussurana versus jiboya. The mussurana is following the scent of prey when it encounters a young jiboya. Without hesitation, it lunges forward, tightly coiling the opponent's body in complete dominance. The size difference quickly exhausts the young boa, leaving no chance for meaningful resistance. For the mussurana, swallowing other snakes is a familiar advantage. Its jaws open wide, with flexible joints allowing it to pull the prey inward little by little. The hunt ends cleanly, true to the instincts of a professional snake hunter. Boomslang versus chameleon. The boomslang and the chameleon face each other on open ground, both stopping immediately, ready for confrontation. The boomslang raises its body, lifting its head to display length and reach. The chameleon puffs itself up and opens its mouth to appear larger than it really is. No strike occurs, only a brief standoff of nerve and awareness. Spider-tailed viper versus bird. The spider-tailed viper is one of the most unique ambush snakes in rocky desert environments. Its tail has evolved to mimic the shape and movement of a spider, deceiving predatory birds from a distance.
Not much, but worth having.
Its body has exceptional camouflage, allowing it to nearly disappear against rocky terrain.
Oh, spiders.
This species prefers lure-based hunting rather than active pursuit. The bite is delivered at extremely close range, minimizing the risk of counterattack. This hunting method allows the snake to conserve energy and maintain full control over the encounter. Water moccasin versus rattlesnake. As morning begins, the rattlesnake emerges from its shelter to forage along the edge of a humid forest. It has no idea this area is already controlled by another predator. While attempting to move along the layer of decaying leaves to avoid attention, a sudden strike lands directly on its head, leaving no time to react. Powerful necrotic venom spreads rapidly, destroying tissue and disrupting circulation, causing the rattlesnake to lose control in a very short time. The water moccasin does not swallow immediately. It retreats and observes. Only when it is certain the opponent is completely exhausted does it return to consume it whole. In nature, waiting for the right moment can be more terrifying than a direct attack. Mussurana versus coral snake. While tracking prey, the mussurana suddenly confronts a coral snake. With no room to retreat, it immediately lunges forward, closing in and locking the opponent's body before the venom can take effect. The coral snake is quickly forced into a disadvantage and pulled into the swallowing process. But even when nearly exhausted, it fights back fiercely, using all remaining strength to coil tightly around the mussurana's head in an attempt to reverse the situation. However, the difference in size and endurance is too great. The mussurana slowly escapes the coils, regains control, and continues swallowing its opponent. Stubborn resistance is sometimes not enough to overcome evolutionary advantage. Mussurana versus rattlesnake. The encounter begins when the mussurana and the rattlesnake are locked together with no escape, each coil tightening and reducing the space to move. Once control is established, the mussurana begins delivering decisive attacks. The rattlesnake avoids the first strikes thanks to extremely fast defensive reflexes, an advantage that has saved it from many predators. However, the pressure never eases. Prolonged constriction weakens the prey's muscles, and its movements gradually lose precision. When the distance closes enough, the mussurana strikes directly at the head. This time, the rattlesnake cannot react. The outcome is decided when endurance overcomes speed. Kingsnake versus rattlesnake. The kingsnake strikes immediately, showing a hunting strategy focused on risk control rather than prolonged struggle. This species does not rely on speed or striking power, but on venom resistance and sustained pressure. By swallowing the rattlesnake headfirst, the king snake minimizes the risk of being bitten during prey handling. This behavior reflects a special biological advantage when confronting venomous snakes. In such encounters, the winner is not the more dangerous species, but the one better adapted to the danger itself. Rattlesnake versus red-bellied black snake. The rattlesnake quickly detects the presence of the red-bellied black snake and chooses to retreat, trying to maintain a safe distance. This opponent is known for hunting other snakes, possessing strong venom resistance and a tendency to advance rather than withdraw. It moves slowly but steadily, closing the distance step by step. The moment the gap disappears, the first bite is delivered. The rattlesnake struggles briefly before motor signals become disrupted and strength fades. The hunt ends cleanly when the prey has no chance to resist. Kingsnake versus copperhead. The kingsnake and the copperhead face each other inside the confined space of a glass enclosure. The kingsnake silently approaches from behind, but the copperhead immediately turns to counterattack, causing both bodies to coil tightly in a tense struggle. Cobra vs. lizard. On a barren patch of open ground, the cobra and the lizard are locked in a confrontation with no path of retreat, yet no strike is sufficient to finish the other. Venom is only effective when delivered into soft tissue at a precise angle, while biting and thrashing require overwhelming force to subdue. When these factors do not align, the advantage of each side is nearly neutralized. This is no longer a hunt, but a collision between two incompatible strategies. In nature, stalemate is also an outcome. Kingsnake versus copperhead. The kingsnake closes in and tightly coils the copperhead, each muscular loop compressing until the prey's body is nearly completely paralyzed. It prioritizes locking the head first, eliminating the risk of venomous counterattack during the most dangerous seconds. Snakes always begin swallowing from the head, so scales and skin do not obstruct the jaws during ingestion. Half of the copperhead's body has already disappeared as the king snake quietly drags the remainder toward the base of a tree. Not to hide, but to reduce risk while swallowing, In nature, advantage only matters when used at the right moment. Puff adder versus mouse. The puff adder moves slowly across open ground, each motion blending almost perfectly into the surroundings. The mouse detects it early but does not flee, remaining still and watching, trying to predict the direction of danger. The two stare at each other for several tense seconds.
Oh my God. The line, jeez.
The puff adder is known for its energy-efficient hunting style, preferring to wait for certainty rather than chase. All hesitation ends. The strike happens extremely fast. Venom enters the body. The mouse convulses violently. Reflexes break down.
Careful.
Then it weakens and dies on the spot.
Seconds after jumping out.
Corredeira cobra versus coral snake. Under a dense tree root, the corredeira is searching for food.
Porque durante o dia, essa cobra enxerga muito bem. Ela só
It detects a coral snake moving across damp soil and immediately lunges,
viu o movimento, ela viu que ela foi pra
controlling the body.
Ela foi para aquele lado ali, olha lá, pegou no. Olha lá, ó a briga lá, aí ó. Briga não, que a falsa coral não revira, ela é por trás da galha. Vê. Ficou só aguardando. Agora ela tá fazendo a consta.
But the initial bite lands on the tail, allowing the coral snake to escape. Instead of retreating, the coral snake turns to confront it. This time, a precise bite to the head combined with tight coils leaves no escape.
Agora pode fazer.
After suffocation, the coral snake is quickly swallowed, following the rule that the dominant predator prevails. Green cobra versus coral snake. The green cobra is still busy handling its recent kill, completely unaware of a threat approaching from behind.
Chegando aí, ó a coral verdadeira, ó, pegou.
From the low foliage, the coral snake suddenly lunges forward, fangs embedding precisely into the neck.
As câmeras do rei das serpentes. Quando eu percebi que ela tinha soltado, que ela soltou uma fibra.
But the coral snake does not rush to finish. It maintains the bite point and waits patiently.
Pela coral verdadeira, você pode ter certeza que ela vai assim que ela pressão.
Neurotoxic venom begins to take effect, disrupting movement and reflexes even while the body is not yet fully immobilized. When resistance weakens significantly, the coral snake moves to position the head and begins swallowing. In nature, a single moment of carelessness is enough for toxicity to decide survival. Eagle versus deer. The eagle begins the new day by targeting the most challenging prey while it still has the most energy. From above, it spots a young deer wandering through the grass. In an instant, the eagle folds its wings and dives like a living arrow, crashing straight into the prey and sending both sliding down the rocky slope. The deer scrambles to its feet, powerful legs kicking hard to break free from the talons. Faced with such resistance, the eagle is forced to let go. But the hunt is not over. It quickly locks onto another target in the herd. With its aerial advantage, the eagle easily lifts a young deer and flies away the reward for persistence. Eagle versus lizard. Along the dry grounds of Yellowstone, encounters between eagles and lizards unfold like this. But the lizard does not give up. It thrashes violently, repeatedly twisting its head to bite at the eagle's legs. using small but stubborn jaws to prolong its chance of survival. The eagle holds firm. The lizard continues to struggle. The stalemate drags on with neither side gaining a clear advantage. Eventually, when hunger no longer allows further risk, the eagle is forced to release and search for easier prey. Eagle versus warthog. The eagle has just left the coastline and continues its hunt. From above, it locks onto a target and dives almost vertically. The entire body of a young warthog is pinned beneath sharp talons. It struggles violently to escape, but its weak resistance cannot overcome the crushing force of an aerial predator. For many eagle species, a high-altitude dive is the most dangerous weapon, generating enough force to subdue prey the moment they hit the ground. As the struggling sounds fade, the eagle lifts the young warthog and flies straight back to the nest. Eagle versus sea snake.
La dentellada mortal cae. Una cantidad masiva de miotoxinas es bombeada directamente al torrente sanguíneo, licuando cruelmente todos los tejidos musculares del rival.
In a split second, it dives. The strike is so precise that even a snake with fast reflexes cannot evade it. Talons clamp shut, and the eagle immediately flies straight back to the nest, carrying the prize for its chicks. In these waters, a single second of exposure is enough to decide life or death. But fortunately, resilient. At the riverbank, two geese suddenly rush toward a baboon, their calls ringing sharply. They spread their wings wide, beating forcefully at the opponent's face, then peck repeatedly at its shoulders and back to drive it away. But the baboon is almost indifferent. It merely turns slightly, avoiding the pecks without bothering to counterattack. Young birds are taking their first flights unaware that an unimaginable threat is watching from below. After a futile struggle, the geese are forced to retreat. Sometimes, a difference in strength ends a confrontation before it truly begins. Hawk versus chicken. The chicken in the yard keeps scratching the ground, unaware of the massive shadow spreading from above, and the chicken is seized beneath the talons. At that moment, a nearby goat suddenly charges in, a warning headbutt strong enough to force the hawk to release the prey and shoot back into the air. It circles overhead, choosing another hen. But the rooster immediately rushes in to counterattack. A stork and a cobra, a clash between aerial reflexes and deadly venom. Hawk versus squirrel. However, the stork does not retreat. It maintains an extremely calculated distance, staying right at the edge of the snake's strike range to provoke it into revealing an opening. The danger comes from above. Without a single warning sound, the ground jolts in an instant as the hawk strikes. Wing spreading is not only for balance, but also a tactic to create a false target, distracting before it can react. The prey is already locked down, its entire body restrained. In the wild, sometimes a single delayed moment is enough to end everything. Hawk versus small birds. The hawk follows faint sounds coming from a small bird's nest hidden deep inside a decaying tree trunk. It approaches slowly, then begins pecking repeatedly. When the opening is just wide enough, the hawk thrusts its head inside, snatches a nestling that cannot react in time, pulls it out, and finishes it on the spot. Many hawk species have curved, sharp beaks strong enough to break hard materials in tight spaces, turning nests into places that are no longer safe. Here, a single moment of carelessness is enough to trade away a life.
Baby bird in my tummy.
Hawk versus cuckoo. The cuckoo is pinned tightly to the ground by the hawk, wings pressed flat with no room to rise. It struggles relentlessly, but the hawk's talons are designed to lock prey in place, holding firm even during violent thrashing on the ground. The pressure increases steadily. Each attempt to break free is blocked. It tries to twist and find an opening, but against a completely superior opponent, all efforts are futile. After only a few minutes, the cuckoo weakens and becomes motionless, a familiar ending, where the difference in strength decides everything. Hawk versus jackdaw. The hawk pins a jackdaw to the ground, curved talons digging deep while nearby young jackdaws can only scream in panic, unable to intervene. The pressure from the hawk's talons is strong enough to immobilize prey of similar size, rendering resistance nearly meaningless. When an adult jackdaw rushes in, it tries to pull the predator away from its kin. But even when lifted off the ground, the hawk maintains its grip, refusing to release. In nature, numbers do not always overcome a perfectly optimized force. Owl versus mouse. Under the quiet night, an owl stands motionless on a high branch, eyes fixed on the dark ground below. Owls are hunters of the night. Their light-sensitive eyes allow them to see in very low illumination, and asymmetrical ears enable them to pinpoint prey using the faintest sounds. The mouse moves slowly, unaware of the danger directly overhead. When the moment arrives, the owl dives almost silently. Specialized wing feathers erase the sound of air. The strike is swift and clean. In the darkness, the one who controls the senses always wins. Owl vs. wild kestrel. A reckless wild kestrel flies straight into the nest of an owl pair, a territory fiercely guarded. It barely has time to assess before. In an instant, both owls react violently. Owls do not rely on speed. They have powerful talons, flexible necks, and the ability to strike with precision in tight spaces an absolute advantage when defending a nest. Under relentless attack, the kestrel quickly loses initiative and has no path forward. Eventually, the intruder is forced to flee. In nature, the greatest mistake of a predator is not lacking strength, but choosing the wrong territory to strike. After narrowly escaping, the kestrel returns. It approaches another owl nest, seemingly believing that boldness might bring a new opportunity. Inside a small nest hidden deep in foliage, a mother bird tenderly feeds her hungry chicks one last time. But the moment she leaves, death descends in. Owls are extremely aggressive when defending their nests in confined spaces. Every advantage belongs to the territory holder. Driven out of the area, the kestrel is forced to flee. In nature, when a mistake is repeated, the price paid is often severe. Falcon vs. bird. The moment an unlucky bird sets foot near the nest, it is instantly detected by a falcon incubating eggs. The response is immediate. The falcon launches straight into the air, choosing offense rather than defense. It uses its talons to press in, forcing the intruder away from the egg area. The confrontation is brief but tense, focused on pressure, intimidation, and driving the opponent away. What you have just witnessed shows that the world of birds is far from gentle beneath the surface. When hunting, they act decisively precisely and leave no room for error. Leopard versus baboon. At the edge of the forest, a troop of baboons moves in chaos when a leopard hidden behind bushes suddenly bursts out. In an instant, it grabs one individual on the edge of the group and drags the prey into an open area. The baboons immediately turn back, screaming and closing in. The leopard understands that baboons are not easy targets. As the threat escalates, the leopard retreats, leaving behind the dead baboon. This time, the baboon troop is larger and more alert, while the leopard remains a solitary hunter. Baboons are known as the most aggressive members of the primate family, and this is a clear example. Instead of fleeing, they collectively advance, attacking from multiple directions. The leopard is forced onto its back. Constantly twisting to avoid strikes, this is a common defensive posture in leopards. Under the pressure of numbers and the risk of injury, the leopard once again chooses to withdraw. Leopard versus impala. A new hunt begins along the edge of a hot, dry woodland. With its exceptional climbing ability, the leopard ascends a tree to observe a vast hunting area. This time, the target is an impala. The unlucky impala has no time to run. Within seconds, the leopard reaches the prey's neck. With a single precise attack position, it secures a perfect meal. Along deep fissures at the edge of the savanna, the leopard moves slowly, body pressed close to the ground to fully conceal its motion. Ahead, a herd of impalas grazes with heads down, none aware of the danger approaching. This cat can close in to extremely short distances thanks to footsteps that are nearly silent. When the moment is right, it suddenly lunges forward, capturing an impala in a single strike. In nature, precise ambush is always more effective than pure speed. On a low tree branch, the leopard is sleeping when a herd of impalas passes beneath. It wakes, observes briefly, then suddenly launches an attack. The first pounce misses, but it's not the end of the hunt, only a tactical adjustment. Leopards are among the few cats that regularly use trees as ambush points, because prey least expects danger from above. It leaps down a second time, and this time locks onto an individual with a flawless strike. That is the relentless persistence of an apex hunter. Leopard versus cheetah. An unexpected encounter occurs as a leopard casually moves through the forest, only to find a group of cheetahs enjoying a fresh kill ahead.
So the mother is going to investigate that.
Perhaps they have already noticed the presence of another predator. Cheetahs are alert, but rarely initiate confrontation. The leopard suddenly charges, sending the group scattering. Compared to cheetahs, leopards are slower, but far superior in strength and dominance at close range. And this time, the one who controls the situation claims the meal. Leopard versus leopard. In a sparse woodland, two leopards meet at extremely close range, and the confrontation erupts instantly. They clash, feint, slam, and try to knock each other off balance. This is a brief but intensely tense struggle. In this species, fights usually involve territory or access to food. Leopards rarely engage in prolonged combat, as every wound can threaten future hunting ability. After several violent exchanges, the weaker individual is forced to retreat, surrendering territory and status to the stronger rival. Leopard versus jackal. At the edge of a low grassland, the leopard presses itself flat against the ground, tracking a jackal absorbed in foraging. It maintains a close distance without causing any noticeable movement. Leopards rely heavily on ambush, with most pounces occurring within just the final few meters. When the jackal takes one more step forward, the leopard launches a short, powerful burst, seizing the prey before it can react. Perfect predatory instinct found only in big cats. Leopard versus lion. After a long hunt, the leopard rests on open ground, completely unaware of the danger approaching. From afar, a lion silently advances, using wind direction and open terrain to conceal its movement. Leopards rely heavily on sight and hearing while hunting, but during rest, alertness drops significantly. When the distance is close enough, the lion suddenly charges. The leopard reacts late, but still manages to leap up and flee. Fortunately, it escapes the attack. Within lion territory, a leopard accidentally appears in a dangerously open space. A male lion quickly notices and prepares to attack, but a lioness immediately blocks him. Tension builds as the male repeatedly tries to approach, while the females constantly intervene, some stopping the attacker, others restraining their own pride member. Among lions, females often regulate male behavior to avoid unnecessary risks to the pride. In that moment of chaos, the leopard narrowly escapes. Leopard versus buffalo. At the water's edge, a herd of buffalo gathers to drink, unaware that a leopard has been stalking from afar. It waits for the herd to move through a familiar area, then suddenly attacks. But the sheer numbers cause the pounce to fail. The leopard is forced to redirect toward another group, hoping to create an opening. However, this time the entire herd reacts instantly, charging together toward the predator. Buffalo tend to defend collectively when threatened. Under overwhelming pressure, the leopard panics and climbs a tree, abandoning all hunting intent. Leopard versus porcupine. Footage captures a leopard struggling intensely to find an opening to attack the porcupine's soft underbelly. Only highly experienced leopards can bring down porcupines without suffering dozens of quills piercing the face or legs. When threatened by predators like leopards, porcupines raise and fan out their long, sharp quills for defense. After multiple failed attempts, the leopard is forced to give up against a creature with near-perfect physical defense. Snow leopard versus ibex. On steep rocky slopes, a distant ibex herd is completely unaware that a snow leopard is silently following from behind. It moves low, using rock crevices to fully conceal its form. Snow leopards can approach prey very closely, thanks to fur that blends seamlessly with snowy, rocky terrain. But at the moment it launches, the snow leopard suddenly encounters an ibex resting between rocks. The ibex springs up and escapes faster. On sheer terrain, early reaction alone can sometimes mean survival. Komodo vs. pig. Right beside a shallow waterhole, the Komodo dragon suddenly charges straight at a piglet lying low in the mud. There is no warning sign. The attack happens at extremely close range, leaving the prey no time to react. When the piglet can no longer resist, the Komodo dragon eats on the spot. This reptile often exploits the very first moment to fully control its prey, avoiding an exhausting chase. In nature, a successful ambush often ends the hunt very quickly. This wild pig suddenly turns around, attempting to attack the Komodo dragon, but the distance is too close, turning that decision into a fatal mistake. For this species, a bite is not only meant to injure, but also to spread toxins that paralyze the prey from the very first second. The Komodo drags the prey away from the area, always pulling it toward familiar ground to reduce risk while feeding. In nature, misjudging an opponent often leads to an irreversible outcome. Komodo versus goat. This time, the Komodo's target is a herd of goats ahead. It does not accelerate into a chase, because its heavy body and low posture make prolonged pursuit nearly pointless. Instead, the Komodo follows slowly, maintaining distance and waiting for a mistake. This reptile relies more on endurance than on sudden speed. Once close enough, it suddenly lunges at a single individual in the herd. But goats have extremely fast reflexes and excellent short bursts of speed, causing the attack to fail. The Komodo stops and gives up, but the story does not end here. This time, the Komodo does not target the entire herd, but chooses a single goat lagging behind. It approaches almost without creating movement, keeping the prey unaware. When the distance is close enough, a single clean bite allows the Komodo to take full control of the situation. The the goat quickly loses its ability to resist. And following a familiar safety instinct, the Komodo does not eat in places it considers dangerous. Instead of tearing immediately, it holds tight and violently shakes the prey. This is a typical Komodo hunting method, stretching and tearing skin and soft tissue before deeper injuries appear. After many failed attempts against healthy goats, the Komodo gradually changes its hunting approach. It focuses only on individuals that wander alone or show signs of injury to the legs like this one. The Komodo does not need high speed because its strategy is built on reducing the prey's ability to resist from the very beginning. Slower-moving individuals are far easier to control. And for a hunter, experience is often the most dangerous weapon. A young goat runs as fast as it can, hoping to escape the predator. But a lightning-fast lunge by the Komodo at close range is no joke. For the Komodo, a bite to the head helps quickly control the nervous system and immediately disorient the prey. It then drags the goat into an open area and violently slams it onto the hard ground. This behavior completely drains resistance before feeding. And for predators like the Komodo, juveniles are the easiest and least energy-consuming meals. This unlucky goat has been trapped inside an enclosure with a Komodo dragon, too small to recognize the danger of facing such a cold-blooded predator. The Komodo does not rush, continuously closing in from multiple directions to shrink the space for movement. The goat still tries to resist as the Komodo approaches, charging wildly in desperation. The Komodo does not need to hurry. It swings its powerful tail sideways multiple times. After a successful knockdown, the Komodo captures the goat with little effort. In nature, space sometimes determines fate more than strength. Komodo vs. monkey. A truly pitiful scene of an unfortunate monkey with no route of escape and no space to run. Bites rain down chaotically. Razor-sharp jaws tear flesh apart, each Komodo taking turns pinning the prey down with sheer body weight. The sensation of being torn apart while still conscious. Painful, isn't it? When numbers work together, power no longer lies in individuals, but becomes an irreversible sentence for the prey. Komodo vs. deer. Beneath murky water, the deer stands half submerged, legs trembling slightly, but still maintaining a safe distance. On the bank, the Komodo dragons attempt to close in, but the water acts as a barrier, making them hesitate. Their heavy bodies are not built for prolonged swimming, and the prey remains alert enough to retreat deeper. Then, one Komodo breaks the stalemate. It charges straight into the water, And immediately, a second rushes in to assist, biting deeply into the weakest part of the body. This proves that a single decision at the right moment can turn an apparently hopeless hunt around. Komodo versus buffalo. Near the base of a massive ancient tree, a mother buffalo and her calf come into view of a group of Komodo dragons. The Komodo clearly understands the difference in strength. They do not target the adult, but focus pressure on the calf. Others immediately join in, holding and dragging the prey down. Once on the ground, the calf has no chance to escape. The mother buffalo knows well the venom the Komodo carries. Charging in to save the calf would mean death. Sometimes nature is so terrifying that a mother must watch her own child being eaten alive. This time, the Komodo targets another buffalo herd. In the eyes of this cold-blooded predator, calves are always the easiest prey to control. The Komodo prioritizes safety, and with limited numbers, it avoids direct attacks. It patiently follows the herd over a long distance, staying close enough not to lose track. When the herd stops by the water's edge, order begins to break down. After the herd moves on, a calf lags behind. That brief moment is enough for the Komodo to pull the prey down and secure a perfect meal. This time, the Komodo dragon targets a calf within the buffalo herd, a familiar choice due to slow movement and panic. However, the mother buffalo reacts almost instantly. Driven by powerful protective instinct, she positions herself between the calf and the predator, repeatedly charging and forcing the Komodo to retreat. The Komodo relies on surprise and prey exhaustion, making it ill-suited to face a large opponent with direct resistance. Finally, I can see the calf being safely protected. Komodo versus dog. Under the muddy ground, two dogs stand apart on opposite sides, barking and cautiously watching the massive body of the Komodo dragon. They move constantly, trying to apply pressure while keeping a safe distance. One dog suddenly lunges forward, biting the tail in hopes of provoking a reaction. Thick skin and a solid stance leave the Komodo largely unfazed. The weak bite causes no significant damage. Once again, the cold-blooded predator controls the space. What you have just watched shows that, in nature, Survival always comes with harsh choices. For venomous snakes. Venom and adaptability are the very factors that help them maintain their position in a fiercely competitive environment. If you found this video impressive, please hit like, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring many more dramatic wild stories. Thank you for watching until the end. See you again on the next journey into the natural world.
I think the same too, dude.